Let's go Broncos! The atmosphere is heating up behind the scenes at the Denver Broncos, and I've got some important developments to break down with you all. We know the Broncos have their eyes set on the Super Bowl, and to get there, Sean Payton needs a high-caliber roster. I'm going to tell you everything I've uncovered, but before we dive in, make sure you've smashed that like button, but only if you're a true Denver Broncos fan. If you've been repping orange and blue for more than 20 years, drop a comment saying, "Go Broncos! My heart bleeds orange and blue." The Denver Broncos are not waiting around this offseason. With the United Football League season having just wrapped up, they've made a strategic move by signing one of the top defensive standouts from the league, cornerback Mario Goodrich from the Birmingham Stallions. That name might not jump off the page for casual fans, but Broncos country, listen closely, this is not just a depth signing. It's a calculated investment with some real upside, and there's a precedent for it paying off. This marks the second consecutive year the Broncos have dipped into the Birmingham Stallions roster. Last year, they brought in edge rusher Dondrea Tillman, and that move turned out to be a low-risk, high-reward situation. Tillman delivered 5 sacks in a rotational role, a very solid contribution for a player many didn't even expect to make the final roster. The hope inside Dev Valley is that Goodrich can replicate, if not exceed, that kind of impact in the secondary. Now, let's talk about Mario Goodrich. Originally signed as an undrafted free agent by the Philadelphia Eagles back in 2022, he spent 2 seasons on their practice squad. Though he didn't see regular season action in Philly, he was part of that Eagles team that made it all the way to the Super Bowl in the 2022 season. So yes, he's been around high-level football environments. That kind of experience matters, even if it's behind the scenes. Last season, he had a short stint with the New York Giants during training camp but didn't make the cut. That led him to the USFL, where he joined the Birmingham Stallions, a franchise that was vying for their 4th consecutive championship. Though they fell short, Goodrich was a crucial part of a defense that battled through adversity all year. No, the numbers won't blow you away. Just 16 total tackles and 0 interceptions. But according to those covering the UFL closely, Goodrich's role was far more impactful than the stat sheet would suggest. Pro Football Focus graded him as the 21st best cornerback in the entire UFL, with a 66.3 overall coverage grade. That may not scream starter in the NFL, but it certainly signals a guy who knows how to stay in phase with receivers and execute a game plan. That kind of polish is rare for players coming in from alternative leagues. To make room for Goodrich, the Broncos made the tough decision to waive defensive back Tanner McCalister. This move raised some eyebrows because McCalister showed flashes last season across 3 appearances and had spent most of his time on the practice squad. It seems like the Broncos came to the conclusion that McCalister had likely hit his ceiling, while Goodrich might still have untapped potential. The Broncos' secondary room is deep, let's not sugarcoat it. With names like Quentin Newsome, Jaden Robinson, Joshua Pickett, and Reese Taylor all jockeying for roles, it's going to be a dogfight for those final practice squad and depth chart spots. That said, Goodrich brings something different to the table. His championship experience, both in the NFL and UFL settings, his disciplined approach, and his technical coverage abilities give him a legitimate shot to stick around. Even if he starts on the practice squad, don't count him out just yet. The Broncos coaching staff values guys who play smart, stay ready, and can step in when injuries or other factors hit during the season. And let's be honest, those situations come up every year. If Goodrich stays the course, stays healthy, and makes some noise during camp and preseason, it's not hard to envision him getting called up and making an impact. That's the million-dollar question. Can Mario Goodrich push through the competition and secure a spot on this Denver Broncos roster? The answer might hinge on more than just his physical talent. It's going to come down to mindset, work ethic, and how quickly he can digest Vance Joseph's defensive playbook. And let's not forget, the Broncos aren't bringing in camp bodies just to fill space. Every roster decision is made with the idea that someone could step up when it matters most. Now, Goodrich is entering a cornerback group that is anything but soft. Quentin Newsome is hungry and has shown some real athleticism and versatility. Jaden Robinson has flashed during OTAs with his footwork and instinct. Joshua Pickett brings raw physicality, and Reese Taylor is a gamer with special teams value. This isn't a group where you can coast. You've got to earn every rep, every snap, every opportunity. But if there's one thing that separates Goodrich from the average long shot, it's that championship DNA. Being part of a Super Bowl-level organization like the Eagles, then transitioning into a key contributor for a Birmingham Stallions squad that made it to the UFL title game, that builds resilience. And let's be real, playing in a spring league like the UFL doesn't come with glamour. You're grinding week after week for a shot like this. That shows the kind of hunger that coaches love. And while his stat line might not jump off the screen, just 16 tackles, no picks, it's the tape and the assignments where he excelled. He played disciplined zone coverage, knew his leverage, and rarely gave up big plays. His ability to hold his own in man coverage also stood out, especially against some of the UFL's top receiving threats. He's a technician, not a highlight reel player. But sometimes, that's exactly the kind of guy you want rounding out your DB unit. Someone who's going to do the job, play clean football, and not make costly mistakes. That's probably why Sean Payton and the Broncos front office felt comfortable letting go of someone like McAllister, who had been with the team. It's a bold move, no doubt. But this coaching staff is showing they're not afraid to cut ties and take a gamble if they think there's even a slightly higher upside. McAllister gave them some decent moments, but the message here is clear. The Broncos are constantly evaluating, constantly recalibrating. If you're not ascending, you're replaceable. What could boost Goodrich's odds is his flexibility. If he can show he's able to contribute on special teams, that could be his ticket to game day actives. We've seen it before, players who aren't in the top rotation at their position but make themselves indispensable on kick and punt units. That's the kind of value that could keep him around and even put him in position to slide into the secondary rotation if injuries or fatigue hit mid-season. Training camp will be the real proving ground. That's where Goodrich has to pop off the screen, not just with picks or breakups, but with communication, recognition, and hustle. If he can lock down the fundamentals and make a few standout plays, there's no reason he can't stick. And Broncos fans know better than anyone. Sometimes it's these under-the-radar pickups that become critical late-season contributors. Just think about how many injuries pile up by November and December. Depth isn't optional, it's essential. So here we are. A guy who's been written off by 2 NFL teams, goes and battles in the UFL, and now walks into a loaded Denver Broncos cornerback room with everything to prove and nothing to lose. And the fans, Broncos country, you're going to get a front row seat to watch it unfold in training camp and preseason. And let's not overlook the timing of this move. With training camp just around the corner, the Broncos are clearly looking to finalize their roster with guys who bring more than just raw talent. They want players who've been battle-tested, who've had to scrap for every opportunity. That's the essence of Mario Goodrich's journey. He's not coming in with a silver spoon or high draft expectations. He's coming in with grit, experience, and a chip on his shoulder. That mindset alone could make a difference when those joint practices start and when preseason games kick off. If he shines during those live reps, especially in press coverage or when matched up in the slot against quick receivers, he could force the coaching staff's hand. And let's face it, Broncos fans, we've seen players like Chris Harris Jr. and even Shelby Harris emerge from similar overlooked beginnings. This organization has a history of finding hidden gems, and if Goodrich can tap into that legacy, he might just be the next one to make a name for himself in orange and blue. Let's take a moment, Broncos country, not just to talk football, but to talk heart, belief, and what it really means to wear the orange and blue. Every season, we hear the noise, the doubters, the analysts who count us out before a single snap is played. But here's what they don't understand, what they'll never understand. Being a Denver Broncos fan isn't about chasing headlines or following trends. It's about loyalty. It's about passion. It's about showing up year after year, no matter the record, no matter the critics. Because deep down, we know what this franchise stands for. We know the legacy of Mile High Magic. We remember the grit of the Orange Crush defense. We lived through the triumphs of Elway, the glory days of Terrell Davis, the dominance of Champ Bailey, the leadership of Peyton Manning. And now, we're watching the next chapter being written, not with hype, but with hard work. This is a team under construction, not a finished product. But every brick being laid by Sean Payton and this front office is moving us closer to where we belong, back in the fight, back in the playoffs, back in the Super Bowl conversation. Every new player signed, every rep in training camp,